Hi, I'm Cynthia, and I'm going to be speaking about the importance of reading in a child's life. When you think of extremely smart people, who comes to your mind? Is Albert Einstein one of them? There's an account of a woman asking him how her son can become a great scientist like Einstein. Einstein's reply was, "If you want your child to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be even more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." When the mother asked for a more serious answer, Einstein persisted, saying that creative imagination is the essential element in the intellectual equipment of a true scientist, and fairy tales are the childhood stimulus of this quality. Reading is important for children. To explain why, I'd first like to define illiteracy and literacy and imagine what it is like to be illiterate. Then we will look at reading's effects on the brain. Finally, I want to go over how illiteracy affects other aspects of one's life besides just reading class. So let's begin with the definition of literacy and illiteracy. The International Literacy Association defines literacy as the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, compute, and communicate using visual, audible, and digital material across disciplines and in any context. Pretty complex, right? Well, long story short, literacy is the ability to read and write properly. Therefore, illiteracy is the inability to read and write properly. And in case you don't remember, according to Dr. Cynthia Zettler-Greeley and Jennifer Oliver, that should be around age 7 or 8, which is 2nd or 3rd grade. Now, I'd like to do a little exercise to possibly show you what it might feel like to be illiterate in a classroom setting. I want you to imagine that each of these languages, when we come to them, is your native language. I also want you to imagine that you have to read this aloud in class properly and understand its meaning properly as if this is for a grade. So, who can tell me what Oe Kahi Helepiku means? This is Hawaiian for where is your bathroom? Now, who can tell me what Je suis allergique à chat means? This is French for I'm allergic to cats. What about this one? Je dois aller à l'urgence. This is also French and means I need to go to the emergency room. I want you to imagine that your native language is French, and your knowledge of it now is all you have as a 7 or 8-year-old who should be literate within this language. Could you pass a test given in French? Could you hold a conversation or write an essay in French? How about Hawaiian? What type of grade would you expect to get? Now, imagine applying to other aspects of your life. Could you count one of these languages? Could you pass a math class? I picked these languages for certain reasons. I figure one or none knew any Hawaiian. This is how a child feels when they can't properly read their language. Completely lost. So you should all sort of feel that. I knew at least one person in here speaks French. He is a representation of the children in the class who know how to read properly. Everyone else, sorry, you're still illiterate. But isn't that kind of annoying, knowing that it is possible to be illiterate and pass this test, but you can't? Imagine feeling that every single day. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? So now that we kind of have an idea of how it would feel to be illiterate, let's look at the effects of reading on the human brain. Debbie Hampton, with the Best Brain Possible website, wrote about a study done on adults who learned to read at an early age, adults who learned to read as adults, and illiterate people. Scientists use functional magnetic resonance imaging scans, or MRIs, to measure and compare brain function of the participants as they responded to oral language, written language, and visual tasks. The people who read had more developed occipital and parietal brain lobes. The occipital lobe functions to process visual information as well as imagine and visualize things. The parietal lobe functions to turn letters into words. Another study found that reading improved communication between areas in the brain and increased the level of white matter in a child's brain. Researchers have also found that reading to children stimulates the part of a child's brain that helps with mental imagery and understanding narrative. which are both key components for literacy. A study done on 19 3 to 5-year-olds showed that children with more home reading experience had an MRI test show greater activity in the occipital and parietal lobes. Dr. Jewett of Cincinnati Children's Hospital said it was a study that demonstrated that early reading does have an impact on the part of a child's brain that are fundamental for developing literacy. The American Academy of Pediatrics has long said that reading to your children creates nurturing relationships which are important for cognitive, language, and social-emotional development. Finally, on that note, let's take a look at another reason why reading is so important in a child's life. It affects other aspects outside of a reading class. The National Center for Education Statistics, or NCES, has found that 26% of children who are read to 3 to 4 times a week are recognized every letter in the alphabet versus the 14% who are not read to. NCES also found that children who are read to more frequently are 16% more likely to count higher, 14% likely to be able to write their names, and 20% more likely to read on their own. The Children's Reading Foundation has found that children who are not reading on grade level by the end of 3rd grade, again, 7 or 8, struggle in every class, year after year, because over 85% of the curriculum is taught by reading. They have also found that children with illiteracy problems who are behind their peers in reading struggle with low self-esteem and feelings of inadequacy. So there's an emotional and societal impact as well as affecting other classes besides reading. 3rd graders who cannot read on grade level today are on track to be our nation's lowest income, least skilled citizens. Reading is a prerequisite for most adult employment, continued personal achievement, and for continued democracy. So, we see the child needs to learn to read for beneficial reasons that extend beyond their reading class. We have been through what literacy and illiteracy mean and what it's like to be illiterate, the effects of reading on the brain, and the effects of being illiterate in factors outside of reading class. Now, I'd like to leave you with one final thought from Confucius. He said, "No matter how busy you may think you are, you must find time for reading, or surrender yourself to self-chosen ignorance." Don't let your children or someone you know grow up or remain illiterate. Help them have a rewarding future, free of illiterate ignorance. Thank you.